Hi, I'm Mackenzie Johannesson, and I am taking the Fundamentals of Speech class through Mitchell Tech, and this is my final speech on effects of divorce. My camera is not letting me take a video unless I'm continuously holding the button, and that's why I'm doing it so close. But to start it is divorce can be a touchy and sensitive topic for some, and sometimes it's easy to talk about it because it wasn't a bad experience for you, but it needs to be and should be talked about because with how high the likelihood of it happening to so many people in American society is crazy. And the reasons for divorce can vary a lot, but sometimes it's just something small and sometimes it's something really big. One thing people don't consider is all the people that were affected in it, the family, the children, and everything that can be like hurt by it. So the children can be hurt or have lifelong trauma or consequences from the divorce of their parents. But the rising divorce rates in today's American society can attribute to the changes in society's norms in America, and that can be impacting to families and the well-being of that couple as individual people. There are many ways divorce happens and affects someone, and here are the reasons as to why divorces are so common in Americans today. But marriages are failing so often now, and I want to share the causes of them to hopefully show why they're not happening and they're not always a huge issue like a crazy phenomenon happening. Sometimes it's small emotions that just keep adding up. And some of those reasons are lack of commitment, arguing too much, infidelity, married too young, unrealistic expectations, violence, abuse, lack of preparation for a marriage, and also equality in a relationship. According to Nicholas Wolfinger in Understanding the Divorce Cycle, the risk of divorce is 50% higher for somebody that comes out of, for a couple that has one person in a divorce home, and it's 200% higher for a couple to have two of the spouses in a divorced home. So divorce can be associated with a person's profession as well, which is like their job. And some of those are so high for more commonly known professions because they're more out there and known and have more people in their life that they're available to. And some of those professions are dancers, therapists, bartenders, like service workers, and some of the lower professions that aren't as high of a risk or have as high as divorce rates are farmers, um, optometrists, and farming engineering or agriculture engineering. And just because you have a high profile or are more commonly known doesn't mean you're going to be an advocate for divorce, but it doesn't mean you're also not going to be. And just because you have a lower status in society doesn't mean you're not going to get divorced or have marital issues. Um, into addition to that, why a couple might get divorced, the children can have consequences from that divorce too. And children go through divorce too in different ways than people expect, like having to deal with it for the rest of their life and having to involve that in their future relationships. There's a few emotions children go through that not everyone thinks about, and so all children oversee their guardians and parents going through a divorce differently, especially if they handle it peacefully or have disagreements in front of the kids all the time. And they can have children that have emotional detachment or struggle in different kinds of ways. Um, Kids could struggle in school or sports, and their academics, along with social skills, will decrease sometimes and make them feel isolated in a way that no one could ever really tell you how that feels. Um, Feelings of loss, anxiety, confusion, and many others like anger can all be a outcome from that transition of divorce. And children whose family is going through a divorce may have like a harder time to relate to others and tend to feel like they have fewer social contacts because you don't relate with everyone that's going through the people that have really happy families. And children who have experienced divorce are more likely to have divorce in their own relationships. Some research indicates that some divorce is 2 to 3 times higher as a child than for those children than a person that does not come from a divorced family. Research also suggests that children of divorced parents are more likely to end up the same way, especially if the parents um, of those children are both from divorced families. Uh, while some of those of the possible effects of divorce are on children, sometimes they're not always like that. It's not like absolutely written in stone. And more families in today's society have found better ways to have a peaceful, less stressful divorce, and have found like counselors and therapists to go to find a way that the children aren't impacted as so bad. Divorce has many impacts on people, but sometimes we forget about the people that are impacted the most. The couple that is getting divorced. The parents or partners going through the divorce also struggle, but some of the struggles are lifelong and some are short, but some are long term, just like heart attacks or mental health issues, and that should be discussed. First, men. They struggle differently because they are wired differently. They are physically and mentally made differently than women. According to a study, that for divorced men, it is 250% greater for them to have a heart attack than a married man, and divorced men suffer more from heart attacks and strokes than non-divorced men. Men have less social support usually, so they don't get all the help they should need or would need as a woman with their emotional support system, and people see men as needing to be strong through certain things, so they don't get the help they need, and that increases their risk for adverse health effects. With women, they struggle too, but they are more emotionally wired, so usually they have more emotional support and a better mental state to be in, but they can like have the exact same experiences sometimes as men. Like men, women have increased risk heart attacks and heart failures in and after divorce. However, the risk increases if you are married more than once. So usually if you're married once and divorced once, you have a 24% risk of heart problems and health problems. But if you have a second, third, or fourth marriage and all those in divorce too, you have a 77% chance of heart failure and problems. A study from University in Texas, Austin, found that women's stress levels lead to eroding immune system, cardiovascular problems, and higher levels of inflammation. Women do more poorly financially after a divorce usually too, so they have that stressor that leads them to have bad physical health too. Both men and women need help sometimes and will manage it differently because their experiences are different and every single person will handle it differently. But divorce is so common, and I chose this topic to inform people about my experiences and what others went through. I personally come from a family that has generational divorce, mostly on my mom's side, but it's becoming more common on my father's too. I really enjoyed studying this because I didn't understand that everyone went through this kind of problem, and I really hope to break the cycle in my family because I don't want my children going through what I went through, and I don't want the experience, pain, and trauma that my parents went through. The divorce process can be different for a lot of people. I know people and friends that have an amazing experience and peaceful family, but everyone goes through it differently, so it's important to talk about it and acknowledge this. Certain studies have shown that daughters of divorced parents have a 60% higher divorce rate in marriages than a son that only has 35% divorce rate. And if parents are married after divorcing, it's 91% higher than parents that don't get divorced after their second marriage. And if the parents are happily married, the divorce risk is only 14% less than the normal divorce risk in today's society. So divorce is an adjustment and struggle for many, and sometimes it's very peaceful. So although it is sensitive and touchy to talk about, it's good to acknowledge the differences in people. And now that you understand and know more of the reasons that divorce is common in today's American people, I am glad to share all that with you, and thank you for listening and having an open mind on people that go through different experiences, whether it is someone getting divorced or the child going through the parents' divorce. And that is, thank you.